Am I the a-hole for posting a heartwarming video of my friend? Fake names used. I, female 26, have a friend who I will call Max, male 28, who has a foster child, Dexter 10. Max is a foster parent and has fostered Dexter for the last 3 years. Max and I aren't super close. His best friend is my sister, and my son and Max are good friends. But we're close enough that I was invited to the party. Basically, I don't fully understand the whole fostering thing, but from what I do get, Dexter has been upgraded from a temporary placement to a permanent placement with Max, though not adopted. Dexter will now not be moved away from Max, and will not be given back to his real parents. Dexter requested this, but it had to be approved by the courts, which they weren't sure would happen because his real parents have been wanting Dexter back and have even threatened to kidnap him in the past. Last week, Max got confirmation from the courts that Dexter had been made permanent, along with a letter from the courts explaining this. Max decided he wanted to throw a big surprise party for Dexter to announce this to him, and invited all his close family, my sister and my son. Dexter came home from school and was shocked by everyone being there, and his reaction was super cute. Dexter was super confused as to why everyone was there, but Max told him they just wanted to celebrate Dexter going into year 6. About halfway through the party, everyone went to sit down in the living room, as we were instructed, and Max started to read out a whole speech. The speech was really sweet and emotional. It spoke about Dexter when he first came to live with Max, how he grew and developed from a small boy scared of the world into a charming and outgoing little man. While reading, Max started to tear up, as did I and most other people listening. At the end of the speech, Max said how he had confirmation that Dexter is becoming permanent and will be living with Max forever, and said something like how he is so excited to be able to see Dexter grow up into an adult. As soon as Max finished, Dexter started to sob, ran to Max, and said something like, "I thought you were going to say I had to leave," and they just held each other. It was an incredibly cute moment. Now, here is where the issue came. I am an influencer. I do family vlogs and family content on YouTube and TikTok. I have a decent following. Not like crazy big, but enough. I thought this was going to be a really cute moment that should be remembered. So throughout the celebration, I was recording Dexter, and I felt really lucky to have caught the speech in Dexter's little, "I thought you were going to say I had to leave" on camera. And I edited it, which took me ages, and posted it on my TikTok page. It was one of my best performing videos, which made me really excited. I sent the link to Max to show him, and I thought he would be excited. But instead, he went absolutely insane at me. He called me, screaming at me, and demanding I take the video down. Like, he was scary on that phone call. I initially was hesitant to take it down because it was performing really well, but after an hour, I took it down because he said he was going to file a takedown request on my whole account and the video if I didn't remove it myself. At this point, it had almost 200K likes, which is huge for me. I don't think Max fully understands how big of an opportunity this was for me. Even though I calmly explained it, not screamed and yelled like he did, he said he didn't care and wanted the video removed. So, in the end, I chose to remove the video out of respect for him and my sister. And now, my sister is refusing to talk to me. And my son was invited to go watch a movie at the cinema on Saturday this week, but Max is now saying they won't be going unless they can pick up my son and I not attend. Which will not happen, so Max is now excluding my son from meeting up with his friend, which is entirely unfair on my son. I honestly don't think I am the asshole, because all I did was post a cute, nice video of a sweet moment. I will be sending a link of this post to Max, so he can hopefully understand with the help of the comments that he needs to apologize to me. Response from Max. I'm Max, the person mentioned in this post. I wasn't planning on responding because honestly, posting about this again after being asked not to is incredibly immature. But I've had enough, and I think it's important to set the record straight so everyone can see how inconsiderate and careless you really are. First off, I've always been clear with anyone who meets Dexter that photos of him cannot be shared online without blurring his face. This isn't new information to you. I've explained it many times, and even reminded you repeatedly after you've posted pictures of him and censored on multiple occasions. My fostering agreement explicitly states that no uncensored images of Dexter can be posted online. Violating this could put my ability to foster him at risk. He could be taken away from me. And yet, you continue to ignore this. I even reiterated these rules at the party, encouraging everyone to take photos, but under no circumstances were they to be posted publicly without proper censoring. You were told, once again, not to reveal his face or mention our exact location, including the city. But what do? You go ahead and post a video with Dexter's face completely visible, along with the city tagged as the location. I don't know whether you're just being willfully ignorant or deliberately trying to provoke me. I've been lenient far too many times because you're my best friend's sister, and Dexter enjoys spending time with your son. But this is the final straw. You've endangered Dexter and breached his privacy. I had to threaten legal action just to get you to remove the video. And it's not like you didn't know the risks. His biological parents have previously threatened to kidnap him, and your actions have put him in jeopardy. Now, I'm scrambling to fix the situation with his social worker. The worst part is we don't know if it has been seen by his parents because it went so viral. Now, I'll admit I did lose my temper with you, but after so many warnings, I was at my limit. I hope you take the negative comments from Reddit to heart and really reflect on why you keep doing this. Your overwhelming need to always be the center of attention is damaging your relationships with friends and family. This isn't just about a cute video. It's about your lack of respect for others' boundaries and the impact of your actions. I genuinely think you should consider therapy to explore why you have this urge to prioritize your own needs for attention over the safety and privacy of others. Your son is still welcome at any future gatherings, but you'll need to arrange for him to be picked up by me or your sister. If you step foot on my property again, I will not hesitate to report you for harassment. Do not contact me again unless it's strictly regarding your son's arrangements with Dexter. I'm not responding again. I'll send you a link to this comment. Hopefully, that will help you understand why you're such a tossbot. So, this one really rubs me the wrong way. Like, imagine being so focused on getting views that you completely ignore someone's boundaries, and worse, put a literal child at risk. And not just any child. A foster child who's already vulnerable and has bio parents threatening to take him back. That's just so inconsiderate and reckless. I get wanting to capture a wholesome moment, sure, but come on. If someone already told you, don't post his face, why would you post it and censored with a location tag? Very ignorant and selfish. Husband just left me because he's been hit on by a woman for the first time in his life. God, I am so angry at I don't know everything right now. And this feels so fucked up. I don't even want to talk to my BFF about this right now. It hurts too much at the moment. My husband just told me he is leaving me, and I can't believe the reason. I need to give some background. I am 34, and my husband is 38. We've been married for almost 2 years, have dated for 2 years before that, so overall a bit more than 4 years. He's always been very insecure about himself, even though he has a great personality, or so I thought, is generous, caring, can express his emotions, and all this stuff. When I got to know him better, I couldn't believe he wasn't taken. In fact, he had only been in 2 relationships in his life, both 5+ years long though. He told me that's because he's shy and ugly, and women don't really want anything from him, like, ever, especially not good-looking ones. I am fairly conventionally attractive, and he has kept telling me for the past years how lucky he feels to finally have found his dream woman, and then her being as attractive as me. I was wary at the beginning, though, so I let him court me quite a bit before going out with him for the first time, etc. I really was fearing for some dark secret of his that I just hadn't uncovered yet. Plus, I don't want to look easy. But turns out no. He's a really sweet guy and just very shy. I also don't think he's ugly. He's not in any way super handsome, or so, and frankly originally, I thought he was not my type, but his charm melted all of that away quickly once we started thoroughly dating. Things went fast because it all was so wonderful. Well, apparently a while ago, he was on his own in the outside area of a restaurant having lunch when this woman went by and apparently struck up a conversation with him. He showed me a picture of her since I asked him, and she is drop-dead gorgeous. Maybe I am exaggerating because I am so mad, but she definitely looks better than me, I have to admit. He didn't tell me much about what they talked about, just that she was very friendly, and they exchanged numbers and started texting more and more often. He says she at some point openly started pursuing him, even though she knew he was married, saying she just really fell for him and couldn't let this opportunity pass. He said that he was hesitant once he realized that she was hitting on him, and he was also excited because this literally had never happened in his life. In the past, he repeatedly said that women, at least attractive ones like me, have it easy because we can lean back and let the guys approach us, whereas for him it was always hard work to even get a single date. I always replied that it's not really like that, and that being attractive has its own problems, but he then always reminded me of the fact that he had to work really hard to get me to date him too. He swears he has only met her one more time, for lunch, after the first encounter, and that he thinks it is not yet an affair. However, he thinks he wants to go forward with her, because, as he put it, this is the first woman who is genuinely interested in me. I didn't have to text her for 3 months to get a date or anything. I can't let this pass. Or something along those lines. My memory is a bit hazy. The 3 months refer to the time it took him to get a date with me, by the way. And that is why he says he is breaking up with me. He says it's the right thing to do because he wants to continue contact with her, but also feels doing that would be emotional cheating, and he doesn't want to cheat on me, so he ends it before actually starting something with her. I feel devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I am also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met. Why did I give him a hard time? If I had said what I wanted back then, if I had pursued him instead of playing hard to get, he probably wouldn't be interested in that woman. But I always felt that if a woman does that, she shows she's easy. And I didn't just want to get laid, so I thought I must act that way. And now it is biting me in the butt. And I, of course, am very mad at him. But he didn't even cheat on me. He's behaving exactly the way I always say people should act when they fall in love with someone else. I kind of wished he had actually cheated on me with her. That would actually make it easier. Thanks for letting me rant. I don't need advice. I know I'm fucked. Edit. Holy fuck. This blew up so much. First, thank you all so much for your comments. This is much appreciated. And also, some of you made me really think. I still feel this was unwarranted. And if he was so unhappy, he should have told me. But I guess I wasn't as good of a wife as I thought. I didn't really show him that I love him and why and didn't put in much effort, and someone said he was starving for attention, and I guess that's my fault in a way. Ugh. Still, I think just dropping me like this isn't right. I managed to get the courage to talk to my BFF, and we'll meet later, so I can tell her everything, and she spontaneously will take me out for a spa weekend. I hope I can get my head clear there. I was so scared, but she was not at all condescending. She's the best. I feel like I couldn't have mustered up the courage for that, were it not for all your support. So thank you all so much, even the critical ones. Update. A couple days ago, I posted here about my husband suddenly leaving me because of, well, having experienced for the first time that a woman actually showed active interest in him. Since links are not allowed in this subreddit, please check my profile for my post history. Yesterday, my husband and I met for the first time since he up and left last Friday, and frankly, after the meet-up, I was very shaken, so it took me until today to be able to write about this. Since so many people have reached out to me with helpful comments and all, I think you deserve an update, but I really wasn't up to it yesterday. Also, this is really long, so sorry in advance. There's just so much to cope with. So here we go. The situation felt very awkward, and I got the impression the whole time that he genuinely feels sorry for how things were, and that what he is doing hurts me. I know many of you said he's a douche, a cheater, and whatnot, and I really understand you, and I'm mad at him myself. But on the other hand, you all do not know him like I do. He's a very honest person. He despises lying, and is really bad at this. He carries his heart on his tongue, and I know him well enough to sense his feelings. Did that help me? Not much. Now, even if I wished, I couldn't paraphrase our talk, and I am sure I will miss certain things. And overall, it was a mixture of him telling and me asking questions. And all is a big flurry in my head, so I'll just summarize, I guess. First, he told me that he really loved me, and he still does, but he feels that his feelings for the new woman are stronger. He told me her name. Let's call her Jasmine, not her real name. He admits Jasmine is gorgeous, but claims that that on its own was in no way relevant for his decision. Yeah, right. He told me that she originally approached him because of a book he was reading during lunch. Supposedly, the book's author is her uncle, and she was able to tell my husband some funny stories about the time her uncle drafted that book. He says he and Jasmine have very similar interests. Jasmine also reads sci-fi as he does because of said uncle, who is a sci-fi author, and both like gaming and stuff. He says after they exchanged numbers, they initially only wrote about stuff like that, and later on they talked about other hobbies and interests, and found more and more common ground, as he put it. He also admitted that, like 2 weeks or so ago, he started to wonder if he should actively tell me about her, seeing how she turned from an acquaintance to what he deems a friend. I interjected that they don't know each other long enough to consider her a friend, but he says he feels Jasmine is really genuine with him. This is a man who cannot pick up social clues unless they are spelled out for him, but whatever. He also feels a lot more in tune with Jasmine than he does with me. Admittedly, we seem to have less common interests, but I never felt like I have to be exactly like my partner. Opposites can complement each other well, and I always felt we do. Well, looks like he feels much happier with someone catering to his interests a lot more. He also became a bit self-critical then. He says that after he left for his friend's place, he sat down and reread his conversation history with Jasmine, and he realized that she had indeed been flirting with him before she told him she wanted more. It didn't start out flirtatious, but he admits he totally missed that. He opened up the app on his phone and showed me the beginning, and then when she started flirting. He might have tuned the messages, but at least the beginnings really read friendly. The flirtatious parts, however, were blatantly obvious in my eyes, but he actually blames himself for that and says that while that doesn't change his feelings for her, it means he should have noticed this earlier and, well, he said, make the decision to pursue her earlier. That sort of broke me, and I started sobbing, because it sounds as if I never had a chance compared to Jasmine. He even wanted to console me, and I allowed that for a couple minutes, but then I sought some distance again. It both felt good and bad to be in his arms. Then it was time to ask me why she is so attractive to him that he leaves me, his wife, for just the mere possibility of being with another woman. I mentioned that someone I didn't say read it suggested she might be a scam, or just interested in breaking up marriages and going after men who are taken, and such. He of course vehemently denied that supposedly they met last Sunday to go out for dinner. And they talked about the fact that she approached him even though he is married, and she claims to have a really bad conscience about this, and that she never would have done it had she not felt such a deep connection between them. Blah blah blah. I must admit, I really struggled through that part. Because if it is true, it hurts me, and if it isn't, it hurts even more that he falls for bullshit. He then told me in excruciating detail about his dating life, and how long he was a virgin, and how he was always treated by girls back in middle school and high school, and by the women in college and later on. How he really feels that he always has to be the one initiating, fighting, even for a chance. And felt like he was always treated as unworthy by almost all women. And how that made him bitter, he admitted that. But also how he always thought that someone who truly fits him, fits his personality, his character, his being, would be someone who would not make him jump through whoops, someone who'd outright tell him she is intrigued by him, and wants him. He says he loves me dearly, and was always very grateful for being with me, but that even with me he always felt somewhere between a beggar and the subject of a pity party, where I bestowed the grace of my companionship onto him, instead of actually liking and wanting him. When I asked him whether that means he settled for me, he vehemently denied that. He said, when we started to date, I really treated him better than any woman had done before. So he really thought this was what he had been looking for. And before meeting Jasmine, he never felt like he needed more. I, of course, tried to tell him that I am not with him out of pity or anything, and explained why I made him wait 3 months, and why I think the man should court the woman, and so forth. And then I also admitted that I might not have given him the appreciation he deserved. This time, it actually was his turn to drop tears for a bit. He said hearing that made him both grateful and unhappy, that he never really communicated better about this. I told him that hearing him say, that feels like he is putting the blame on me. And I swear to God, his eyes like doubled their size. And he looked genuinely shocked, and he apologized many times and said he did not want me to think he actually has any bad feelings about having to wait back then, and that this is a situation where no one is to blame, but especially not me. He said, I have been a wonderful wife and all, but that with Jasmine, it just feels different and like a deeper connection than the two of us have. And that while he thought that I was wonderful, he now realizes that what he really was looking for in life was something else. So he says reconciliation is not really an option because he realized that we're not right for each other. And even if it doesn't work out with Jasmine, he knows now that he actually needs something that I just am not. I mentioned marriage counseling, and he said that it's not like our marriage has issues, but that the issue is that we're just not right for each other. There were more things we said, and maybe I'll add some later, but right now I am too mentally exhausted. Especially because I still don't feel like I can hate him, because he felt so freaking honest. I think he at least truly believes all the things he said, but that woman still might be a total liar or a scam. He at least promised to be careful with her financial wise, but he assured me she's not that. I don't know what to make with any of this. It hurts. I guess my marriage is over. I honestly don't even know what to say about this one. Like, how fragile is your ego that the first time someone shows you interest, you're willing to throw away your marriage? He frames it like it's noble. Oh, I don't want to cheat, so I'll just leave first. But it just sounds like an excuse to chase validation. And the worst part is how he tells his wife to her face that this new woman feels more genuine than she does. That's cold. At the same time, though, you can kind of see his insecurity bleeding through. Years of feeling unwanted. Then suddenly someone makes him feel like a prize. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains it a little. Divorcing my wife after finding out that my son, 5, is not mine. Well, a couple of weeks ago I found out that my wife had cheated on me 6 years ago. The way I found out is that her sister told me after I went to visit her to find out how the delivery of her first child was. She confessed to me that 6 years ago my wife told her that she had slept drunk with her best friend. In her words, my wife was very sorry. At the time she told me, I was with my son, and immediately after leaving her house, I went to take a paternity test with him, fearing the worst. A week later, I got the results, and my fears came true. My son is not mine. For some reason, I began to see the boy differently, more as an acquaintance than a son. With proof in hand, I confronted my wife at night when the child was sleeping. She asked me who told me, and I simply told her that it is none of her business, although obviously it will not take long for her to connect the dots that it was her sister. Well, that is not my problem now. Regardless of that, I asked her for a divorce, which is now in process. She was devastated. She swore to me more than once that nothing happened with anyone again, that she has been faithful to me in body and soul since then. I held back the urge to insult her to avoid complications during the divorce issue, not believing a word. She said, mostly blaming the alcohol, instead of taking the blame herself. After talking about it, she threatened me, saying that she would demand full custody of the child. I was so annoyed at that moment that I told her, okay, I don't want anything to do with something that is not mine, that she keep the child, and I'll keep the dogs. We have 2 dogs that we adopted as puppies, and they are currently 8 years old each. After my words, she tried to convince me to take care of the child with her, saying that I am his father. At that moment, I exploded. I was so angry, and I had held back so much the urge to scream that I just yelled at her to go and take her bastard with her. A week has passed since that, and I am at home. It is in my name, because it is a gift from my parents. She went to her parents' house with her kid. She has not called me since then. She left with everything, and the half-asleep kid. When I yelled at her, especially, since it was the first time I really yelled at her, it sure affected her. I talked to my parents, and my dad told me that I did the right thing, and that I shouldn't be raising something that is not of my blood, and I agree with him. However, the pain is still there. My younger brother told me to write here to entertain myself. I am currently seeing a therapist 3 times a week who told me that I have already taken the first step, which was to leave behind what causes me pain. It just hurts to know that my family no longer exists. Regarding why my sister-in-law told me everything, according to her, she felt guilty seeing me always happy with my son, knowing that he may not be mine, and that the fact that we went to visit her in a moment of weakness caused her to completely break down with guilt. I don't know how true that is. I just know that right now I feel tremendous hatred for my wife, and a feeling between pain and resentment for the child, although it's just a matter of time to get ahead. I just hope the divorce goes smoothly. We have separate finances and properties, and if she really asks for child support, I have proof that it's not mine. According to my lawyer, that's more than enough if she tries a legal process for that. My therapist also recommended that I not see him nor her, that regardless of the child's feelings, I should focus on my own first, that the child is no longer my problem, and the sooner I accept it, the better. Sorry for the misspellings. English is not my first language. Update? Well, 2 weeks have passed since my first publication, and 3 weeks since everything happened. Not many relevant things have really happened, but here is a short summary. If she's going to say anything, let it be at the door. Well, she practically begged me to take her son back, that if I want to cut off all contact with her, that's fine, that she deserves it, but that she can't raise a child alone, that she has a job, that raising him alone is going to destroy her dream of being a notary. She works in public records and is 2 more years away from running for the judiciary to get a vacancy to have her own notary. I tried to explain to her in the calmest way I could that my therapist is the one who recommended I cut off all contact with the 2 of them, and to please leave my door before I lose my mind. I love the child, but I don't want to take out my anger on an innocent, even less considering that this innocent is the product of her inability to keep her legs closed. I said this last thing with a bit of anger, but I never raised my voice because we were on the street. That the child deserves better, and that she is currently responsible for giving it to him. I don't know how, but that's not my problem anymore. After that, we talked a little more. She resisted the urge to try to cry and make a scene because, once again, we were on the street, and she is someone who always takes into account what people say about her. The last thing she asked me was to at least let her see the dogs. I told her no, that the best thing is for them to get used to her absence. Seeing her again, after so much time, will only make them euphoric. After that, she just nodded and left. 2 days after that, she called me when she received the divorce papers. My mistake was answering the phone because immediately after about 30 minutes, she was yelling, to which I later managed to say that the papers must have the number of my civil lawyer, so she can call her if she has any questions. After that I silenced her number. She has not come to my house since then nor tried to call again. That same day I contacted a friend that I made during my master's degree, and I told her to go out. She accepted, and well, we've been going out since then. Finally last Friday I told her to be an exclusive couple, and she accepted. She has stayed to sleep at my house for a few days. She already knows my dogs and adores them, which I appreciate because I couldn't start something with someone who doesn't accept my pets. We're currently taking things easy. She knows the drama I am having with my ex and the child, and she respects my decision. She asks me if I will ever have contact with the child again. I told her maybe when he is of age to understand my decisions, but that I don't expect it to interfere with my life in the future, to which she just nodded, and was glad that I take myself as a priority during this process. Maybe this took a little longer than I expected, but this is the summary of what happened these days, and well, many people have been asking me for an update, so here it is. Man, this one is messy. Like, on one hand, I get it. Finding out the kid you've been raising for 5 years isn't biologically yours is crushing. It changes how you see everything. But on the other hand, the way he talks about just cutting the kid off, calling him her bastard, that's quite harsh. The child didn't do anything. He's innocent in all this, and now he's basically losing the only dad he's ever known. Also, him moving on so quickly. So I think the pain is valid, but the way he handled it isn't. I guess it shows how betrayal can really harden people. Am I overreacting for getting upset when my wife had another man in the delivery room? Last month, my wife called me in a frenzy, telling me that her water broke and that she was going into labor. This was incredibly shocking to both of us because she was still early on in the pregnancy. The problem with this is that I was already on the road, about 30 minutes away, tending to my mother, who had just called to tell me that she was in an accident, not a significant one, but it still shook her up. I told my wife to call an ambulance, because I would not be turning around to drive her to the hospital and witness her birth. She yelled, cursed, cried, and screamed at me through the phone while I tried to calm her by telling her to call my sister if she didn't want to call an ambulance, since my sister only lives 20 to 25 minutes away. After this, she went silent and hung up, and I didn't hear from her for about an hour and a half. I checked my phone for the first time since getting to my mother, and my sister sent me a video of my wife actively giving birth while holding her male friend's hand. The way women squeeze their husband's hands for comfort during labor. My sister immediately followed up the video with a text that said, "When are you going to get here?" I ignored this text and asked her if she's the one who drove my wife to the hospital, and she responded no. I asked her who did, and she informed me that it was my wife's male friend, who lives only 10 minutes away, who drove her and was getting his hands squeezed by my wife. I ended up just asking my sister for the full story while I drove my mother back to her home, since everything was sorted with the accident. Long story short, instead of calling my sister or an ambulance, my wife called her male friend that I've always disliked but never informed my wife. I told my sister to get on FaceTime with me, but not to make it obvious to anyone else in the delivery room, and I would stay silent on the other end. During the call, I saw my wife's friend rubbing her back, wiping her tears, comforting her when she screamed and cried, etc. I couldn't bear the sight, and I ended the FaceTime and told my sister to inform my wife that I would be at the hospital the next day after work whenever she got out of labor. My sister called almost 2 hours later to tell me she had left the hospital and that my wife would be staying the night. The next day, around 3 to 4 p.m., when I went over to the hospital to see my wife and newborn son, she was not trying to hide her anger and saltiness from anyone in the room. That included mostly my family and some of hers. When I asked her why she was acting this way, she rolled her eyes and told me to leave her the fuck alone in front of everyone. Later, when I tried to hold my son, she snatched him from my hands. In this hospital, visiting hours ended at 8, but all of the guests, excluding me, left by 6. When we were alone, I finally got the chance to have a conversation with her about why she's being so salty on a memorable day that should have been filled with love and joy. She responded by getting angry and mumbling something about my audacity to miss her birth and be surprised that she's angry. I'm not proud of this, but in response, I called her a cheater for inviting another man into the delivery room in place of her husband. This spiraled into a short, full-blown argument between us that eventually ended when a NICU nurse came back with the baby. It's been a month since then, and my wife only refers to our son as her son, her baby, etc. I've tried to get closer to her by sitting down and trying to have a deep conversation about our family's future, and she flat out told me that she was never having another child with me after what happened, which deeply hurt me. Last week, I heard my wife on the phone talking about who would be godfathers and godmothers to our son. She told whoever was on the other end that she would be choosing the male friend as godfather because he was there for me when my name couldn't care less. This post is all over the place, but let me know if I overreacted in the argument when I saw her in the delivery room after she gave birth. Or if anyone knows how to fix my marriage and family. Edit. No, this isn't rage bait. I genuinely need advice. Sorry if the wording made it seem that way. I also didn't know the accident was minor until I arrived. And everyone suggesting we get a divorce doesn't know the meaning and dedication of marriage and family. If you have questions, please message me if you want me to answer. Update, wife's post. I'm the wife from that post, lol. A friend found it and sent it to me. Still don't get why he didn't post it on a burner account. Anyway, I decided to make an account to respond, clear some things up, and tell my side of the story as briefly as I can. Yes, I did call my husband to tell him that my water broke, and he did tell me that he wouldn't make it, and to call an ambulance or his sister, who has called me a slur to my face before. So I don't know why he thought this would be a good idea. I did not call his sister because we don't get along, and I have a friend that lives closer to us. He ends up driving me to the hospital, and his sister pulls into the lot almost right after us. Don't know how she knew I was going. So now I'm in pain, scared, upset at my husband, and have someone I don't like with me during my most vulnerable moments. I was holding my male friend's hand, because why wouldn't I be? Now, it was very obvious that my sister-in-law was recording me in some way because she was basically isolating herself from everyone else in the room with her phone to her chest and pointed at me. I didn't think that she was on FaceTime with anyone. I just thought she was filming me, which is equally as weird. I'm not sure why I brushed it off and didn't ask about it when I was more stable. My husband did in fact show up the next day, around 4 p.m., and tried to act like nothing happened, and I was very moody and rude to him, which was probably very immature of me. This later broke out into an argument after everyone left, where he called me a cheater, and I also said some very nasty things. I have been isolating me and my son away from him as much as I can, and trying to be less dependent on him in some aspects. The reason for this is because I feel that I can't trust him to keep my son safe or change his diaper, or pour my breast milk into a bottle and feed him or burp him, or basically do anything for my son at all. It is true that my son and I are financially dependent on my husband. Like he has stated before, and because of this fact I cannot divorce him, not now at least, because I do not have any support system or family that lives near us to help me and my son, and I am still in school. I know staying for the kids isn't healthy, but my family has recommended for me to stay for the sake of my schooling and my son's happiness. My husband has stated many times that he has apologized, but these quote apologies were just along the lines of, "I'm sorry, will you stop being angry now?" No, I am not sleeping with the male friend. We've been friends since 2nd grade, and there's never been anything romantic or sexual between us. Please don't mind my spelling or grammar. English isn't my first language, nor am I from an English-speaking country, and this was also rushed. Feel free to ask any questions, because I tend to leave details out. This whole thing feels as unreal as it sounds, lol. Okay, so both sides here are kind of messy. The husband, yeah, his mom had an accent, but his wife literally went into labor. She's giving birth to his child. And instead of dropping everything, he tells her to call his sister or an ambulance. Like what? His sister could have been with their mom instead, but he chose her over his wife in labor. Then he gets mad when she calls a male friend instead. But honestly, what did he expect? She wasn't going to do that alone. He comes literally the next day after 4 p.m., meaning he went to work first before going to see his wife and their child. Then he calls her a cheater for holding the guy's hand during delivery. Wrong time, mate. And that's just screaming insecure at the same time the wife is saying she has no other choice than to stay with this guy because she's fully dependent on him. That's not healthy either. Feels like this marriage is already done. Hope they figure it out. I destroyed my fiancé's deceased ex-wife's photos and her antique horse collection, and my fiancé doesn't know. I've been keeping this secret for a couple of months. I have been with my fiancé Hale for 2 years, but I've known him since I was a freshman in high school, and he was a sophomore. He was with his deceased ex-wife, Lorraine, when they were in middle school. I always kinda had feelings for Hale, even when I was in a relationship with my ex-boyfriend from high school. We broke up, of course, but Hale has 2 kids, Basil, 8 male, and Bertie, 3 female. I love those kids as my own and see them as my own. He was married to his deceased ex-wife Lorraine when she was 18, and he was 19. They had their son after they got married. Sadly, Lorraine passed away from childbirth with their daughter, Bertie. I comforted him when he was grieving. After a year of her passing, we got into a relationship. He's the best partner I can ever ask for, and we are getting married in the summer of July. Bertie sees me as her mother, and Basil sees me more as an aunt than a mom. I was always Auntie Coco, but my name is Celia. Basil does have a picture of Ale, him, and Lorraine when she was 5 months pregnant with Bertie. He does not have a picture of us together as a family. He still misses his mom. I was kinda a little jealous of Lorraine, especially during high school. Sometimes I wish I was the birth mother of Basil and Bertie. I wished I had his kids first, and Ale doesn't want any more kids biologically because he told me he only wanted Lorraine to have his kids. He had a vasectomy. He told me he'd rather just adopt, or I use a sperm donor, which makes me upset. I felt so insecure about all of it, thinking Lorraine is in the way. All of Ale's friends knew Lorraine inside and out, since they all knew each other in middle school, and had the same old friend group growing up together. Especially Ale's best friend, Jordan. He adored Lorraine. So did his wife, Ruth, who is Lorraine's best friend. I know them, but I am not close to them. They all talk about Lorraine from time to time, about the things they used to do. They are the godparents of Basil and Bertie, so they're around a lot. I, however, didn't know Lorraine that much, but she was nice to me. It felt fake, though, so I wasn't really a big fan of her, but respected her enough. I felt kind of like I was intruding in Ale's beautiful family. I remember going through the attic and finding some of Lorraine's and Ale's belongings, with photos from middle school to before her passing, along with Ale's old gifts that Lorraine had given him and Lorraine's gifts from Ale. A lot of horses, as Lorraine grew up on a horse ranch and loved horses. Ale was keeping this for his kids to give when they were older to treasure their mother's stuff. I also found another box filled with Lorraine's collection of old vintage and antique stuff of horses and gifts from her friends, Ale's friends, family and Ale's family. I got jealous as Ale was planning on giving this stuff of Lorraine's horse collection and gifts to Bertie. Ale has already given Bertie Lorraine's old stuffed zebra when she was a young child, and given Basil an old knife that belonged to Lorraine's grandfather. All I know is I wanted everything gone. When Ale took Basil and Bertie to Lorraine's parents' house for a few days, I stayed back because of work. I knew this was an opportunity to get rid of Lorraine's stuff and photos. So I took the knife and the stuffed zebra, all the photos of Lorraine and her antique horse collection. I burned all the photos, threw her antique collection away, and destroyed some. I cut open all the stuffed toys of Lorraine's and letters she wrote. I destroyed every single thing of hers. I felt satisfied knowing she won't be a bother and nothing to be jealous of anymore. I felt happy and not remorseful. When Ale and the kids came back, I pretended as if nothing happened and was just normal. It only took a few days when they noticed, especially Basil. He couldn't find his photo of him and his mother or the knife. He raised awareness of the disappearance of the stuff, which got Ale searching for the zebra, but it couldn't be found. We did move to a new house a few months after. Ale searched through the attic to pack stuff and noticed that only Lorraine's stuff was all gone. Her collection, childhood stuff, their pictures together, letters, gifts, just everything. He searched frantically for it. He did question me, as he knew about my insecurities and jealousy of Lorraine, but I told him that I would never do anything like that. He believed me, thinking he left her stuff back at the old house. Even to this day, he still doesn't know. Basil is, however, heartbroken, which got me feeling a bit sad. Lorraine's parents and friends are very sad about it, as Ale did tell his friends and everyone. His family is sad about it, because they loved Lorraine like a daughter. I wish they loved me like one, but I know I can't ever compare to her. Aile's friends are also so sad about what happened. Everyone is sad, but they don't know a thing. Even Bertie is sad about the zebra, but that thing was old and gross, so I got her a new one. She doesn't love it like her old one, but she sleeps with it once in a while. I don't think I can ever tell Aile or anyone this, but it feels good to take it off my chest. The only people I really told were my two best friends, Mandy and Holly. Mandy knows Aile, but in high school, they really weren't that close but still hung out. Holly didn't really like Aile that much. She only knows him because she dated his friend Maxwell in high school to college, on and off, until Maxwell got married with a kid on the way. However, Mandy and Holly have told me what I did wasn't right, but they won't tell anyone, so I feel safe knowing they won't tell Aile or anyone of his friends and family. Update. 3 months later. Well, to update you people calling me names and how my fiancé does deserve better, you guys are right. The guilt hit me so hard, seeing my kids all sad and devastated. Basil was so distraught about his grandfather's knife and his picture with his mom. He sometimes will break down crying, because he always tells his dad and me, "My mom is the prettiest lady," or "Mom was the kindest lady." Bertie was still sad because she thought she had lost or misplaced Zipper, her mother's childhood stuffed zebra. She sometimes couldn't sleep. Without Zipper, she would still come to sleep on me, as she sees me as her mom. Aile was upset, thinking he left all of his memories of him and Lorraine behind, and could never get them back. He's sad Bertie would never know much about her mother, Lorraine, or didn't have any pictures of her mother or her collection of anti-courses. They will never know the letters she wrote for Bertie and Basil, and for Basil to never receive any of his mother's old gifts. Basil really loved his mom, and he did resent me sometimes, saying I'm not his mother or I will never replace her. He does say he loves me, of course, just not as a mom. I tried to be a mom for him, but that made him really resent me. I just feel really awful now, but I still didn't tell them for a while. However, my best friend Mandy was the one who wanted me to tell Aile for the sake of him and the kids. She grew up with a stepmother who was resentful of her. She didn't want me to go down that path. She said that it's up to Aile on what he wants to do with our relationship, and that I really messed up and dug myself a really dark, deep hole. She says if I love Aile and the kids as I say I do, then I need to tell him, or she would. I never told him. I was too scared. So after weeks of not telling, Mandy came over one day when I was visiting my parents and little sister. She told Aile the whole thing, what I did and everything I destroyed, how I talked so badly about Lorraine. When I came home, Mandy was there, and I looked over to Aile. He was fuming with so much anger. I'd never seen him like this before. We never had an argument before over the course of our relationship and friendship. This was the first. He screamed and yelled at me. "How dare you do that to the love of my life and the mother of my children?" I knew he wasn't over her and thought he loved me. I asked him if he ever did love me. He said, "I did, and I wanted to marry you. Until you ruined mine and my kid's life forever, I don't anymore. We will never get those things back." I started crying so hard and asked Mandy why over and over. She didn't say anything. Aile was going off on me and broke up with me and told me to never get near him or his kids ever again. I told him, "What about Bertie? She calls me Mama." And he said, "You were never her mother, just a sick person who wanted to seem like Lorraine never existed," and told me to get the hell out of his and his kid's life. After that, I left and went to stay at my best friend Holly's place. Then what I learned a few days after, Aile told everyone. His friends, his family, his best friend Jordan, Lorraine's family and friends, and her best friend Ruth. I was getting messages left and right from all of them, telling me awful things, calling me names. Ruth texted me, calling me a soulless crone who took her best friend's memories and life from her kids. That one really stung and got me to break down. Mandy even told me she will never look at me the same and question our friendship, and hasn't contacted me since. A lot of our other friends dropped me, but a few are still with me. So now, here I am at my best friend's place until I get back on my feet with an ex-fiancé who wants to put a restraining order on me. I am harassing his family, and have already caused enough life-damaging pain for his kids. His son Basil hates me, because Aile told him. Bertie is now wondering where I am probably. I don't know. His family hates me. I got along with his 2 older brothers and his parents. All his friends hate me, and most of my friends do too. I lost my fiancé and my kids over my stupid jealousy. I'm hoping this story's just fake, because this one actually made me angry. Like, seriously? Going into the attic, finding her fiancé's late wife's stuff, and destroying it all out of jealousy? That's beyond cruel. She literally took away all the memories the kids had of their mom. Those keepsakes weren't hers to touch. And the fact that she lied about it let everyone grieve thinking it was lost, then only admitted it when her friend told on her. Nah. Jealousy is one thing, but this was intentional sabotage. I don't blame the fiancé for kicking her out. The arsehole for being closer to my sons than my daughters? I have been married to my wife for 7 years. We have 4 kids together, aged 7, 6, 4 and 4. The 6-year-old and 1 4-year-old are boys. The 7-year-old and the other 4-year-old are girls. My wife and I got into a pretty big argument recently, and I need unbiased opinions. I feel like I've always been closer to my sons rather than my daughters. You know, I'm a boy, I like boy stuff, so do they. I don't like princesses or dolls, so I've always gravitated towards my sons because we have more in common. Anyway, the argument started after my wife had put the kids to bed one night. I was lying down, and she came into the room and confronted me about what my 7-year-old daughter had just told her. According to my wife, as she was tucking my daughter into bed, she started crying and asked, "Why doesn't Daddy like me?" My wife told me that the kids notice how I treat them differently, and I needed to stop acting like I hated my daughters. I told her I don't hate them, but we don't have anything in common. She was pissed and started yelling at me about how immature I was being. I think it's stupid. Obviously, dads are going to be closer to their sons. That's just how the brain works. I tried explaining this to her, and she just didn't listen. She left, and I think she went to sleep in my daughter's bed. I'm not sure. So, am I the asshole? I just want my wife to understand what I'm saying, and she's not listening to me. Top comment from poster claiming to Bop's wife. I am the wife. I found this post because when I went into our room to get my charger, he was asleep, but his laptop was still open with this Reddit thread. Idiot. I don't even have a Reddit account, so I needed to make this just so I can post here. First, I can assure you this is not fake, as many of you here are suggesting. Here are a few other things my husband has done that he conveniently left out of his initial post. 1. My daughter started crying to him about if he didn't like her, not to me. She only came to me when he didn't care. 2. My husband has taken our sons on multiple vacations without our daughters, using my money, might I add. My daughters were told that it was a boys' trip and no girls were allowed. 3. He refused to do both of my girls' daddy-daughter dances this past Christmas because he thought it was stupid. I danced with them instead. 4. He tried to make my girls clean up their brother's mess because it's a girl's job to clean. I could go on for hours. I want to give everyone some more context. My husband works from home. By working from home, I mean he's completely unemployed. I am the sole breadwinner for the family. I am a doctor. I take sole responsibility for caring for the kids. He does literally nothing. I bring them to all of their sporting events, school events, appointments, etc. Ever since we had kids, he was detached from our daughters. He used the same excuse he said in here. He's a boy and doesn't like girl stuff. It's pretty hard to not get along with small children. They quite literally will do anything. My 7-year-old would go run through the mud if it meant she got to play with her dad for 5 minutes. It's heartbreaking to see how much she yearns for a relationship with him. This is not super important, but my daughter loves boy stuff. She likes to go fishing with her grandpa and playing video games with her brother. So the excuse of her not liking boy stuff is dumb. He just doesn't like his daughter. A lot of people are probably wondering why I married him in the first place and why I haven't divorced him yet. To answer the first question, I was young and stupid. I ignored red flags and have now ended up here. I have put off divorce for so long strictly because it is hard to get a divorce. I am riddled with student loan debt, so I really couldn't afford it while taking care of 4 kids. This might have made me an arsehole for not leaving sooner, but I'm done now. This has sealed the deal for me. I've been crying all night thinking about my daughters. Not only them, but I know my sons are not being treated right either. My 6-year-old has noticed how his father treats his sisters, and it makes him so sad. He has offered his spot on vacation multiple times, so that one of his sisters can go, and his dad says no, I'm done with this. So when he wakes up tomorrow, he will be told to leave my house, that I own, and he will be hearing from my lawyer. I'm not putting up with him, or any of his bullshit anymore. I love my kids more than life itself. Tomorrow morning, I am going to take all 4 of them out on an ice cream date while he packs his things. No limit on how much they can buy. They deserve it. Thanks Reddit for showing him how stupid he is, and thank you for going to bat for me and my children. Have a good night. Update by Ops Wife. Hi Reddit, about 6 months ago my ex posted an "Am I the arsehole" post about being closer to our sons than our daughters. I found the post and made a comment under it. I have linked the post here, you can scroll and find my comment. I haven't really been back on Reddit since that night, but I came to check it today and noticed I had a bunch of messages asking for an update, so I figured I would give one here. I don't want to go into too much detail about everything just to protect my and my kids' privacy, but long story short, we are doing great. My ex has moved out of the house, and after we started the court process, he has lost all custody he had of all the kids. He definitely fought for it, but I had enough proof to block him from that. He doesn't have any visitation. Nothing. In the States, divorce is a long and complicated process, so it will take a while for everything to be official, but we are heading in that direction. My kids are doing great. They were all put in some kind of therapy and are healing. I've seen a change in all of them, and I'm so proud of how strong they have been. To everyone who went to bat for me and my kids, thank you. Redditors can be crazy, but I feel like I got the best outcome. You guys were all so supportive, and I can't thank you enough. To other women in a similar situation as me, I promise you will feel so much better once you leave. It's hard, and probably going to be one of the hardest things you will do, but the outcome is so worth it. And lastly, to my kids, I hope you never find this post, but if you do, hopefully, when you're a lot older, just know I am so proud of you guys. Mom loves you more than the world, and I know you guys will do great things. Keep being the shining light in my life. Love you guys. Once again, thank you Reddit for all of your help. This will be my final update. Isn't this like the third story where the partner finds the post? I promise you guys I didn't notice this. So yeah, this one just sucks. Like imagine your daughter asking your wife, "Why doesn't daddy like me?" That's truly heartbreaking. And the dad just shrugs it off like, "Well, I like boy stuff." That's stupid. That's not an excuse. Kids just want love and attention. You don't need to share hobbies to show up for them. And then when the wife chimed in, exposing all the extra details, boys-only trips, refusing daddy-daughter dances, even making the girls clean up their brother's messes, you can clearly see the whole picture. Honestly, this guy wasn't just favoring his sons. He was actively neglecting his daughters. Misogyny with children is crazy. Am I the asshole for abandoning my wife and children for a night out? I have been married to my wife for 7 years. I play a sport professionally, so I am away a lot for training and games. But I still work hard to give my wife and 2 children, 9-year-old boy and 3-year-old girl, as much time as possible. I make a good salary, so my wife is able to stay home with our kiddos, and I provide my family with a comfortable lifestyle. Last week I arrived home after a training session that was cut short, and my wife was excited to have dinner as a family, as I'm not usually home before my kids are in bed. Here's where she says that I'm the asshole. I apologetically told her that I had promised a teammate I'd go to a kickback at his place after training. I had really only stopped at home to shower and get ready quickly. She argued with me for like 15 minutes and accused me of being an asshole who never sees his family and barely knows his own kids. I was very offended by this and stormed out. I ended up spending the night at my teammate's house, and, although I've apologized numerous times, my wife still won't speak to me. Am I the arsehole here? Or is she being dramatic about all of this? I barely get any time to myself, so I don't think it's unreasonable to want to hang with friends after a long day of work. Update. I 30 male. Feel like my wife, 35 female. Stole my childhood. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I've been having some trouble with my wife of 7 years lately. When we started dating, I was 18 and she was 23. Quickly, we realized that our values were different. She always wanted things to be more serious than they were. When I was 20, she got pregnant and refused to get an abortion, despite me telling her I didn't want to be a parent this young. She told me to grow up. 2 years later, she proposed to me. She knew I would never propose, and we ended up getting married. 3 years ago, we had another accident, and our daughter was born. I am a professional athlete, and out of the home traveling to games and training most of the time. She is always angry with me. I give her anything and everything she needs, amazing home, car, private school and services for my son who has special needs, private preschool, so she can get a break from the little one, etc. But she is constantly complaining that my children barely know me, she never sees me, etc. Edit. Edit. For those of you saying I was an adult, 18 is still very much a teenager, and you know it. I have spoken to my wife on the phone, just left this morning again for training, was posting on the car ride there, and it was reassuring. She has no intentions of divorcing me, for those of you saying that is the best option. She said herself that I am a wonderful father and husband and apologized to me. I don't know how Reddit's judgment of me can be so incredibly skewed. I just want some peace for my family. Edit 2. Well, I just got off the phone with my wife, or should I say ex-wife. She saw the Reddit post, as a friend sent it to her, I guess. She went completely off the rails, and I had to hang up on her at one point. She is at her mom's house with the kids right now. My life has been completely ruined. I am devastated and hope that we can somehow repair this. Thanks for the genuine advice to those giving it. When she called me back after I hung up on her, she said she'd be filing for divorce in the morning. So this guy is 30 now, been married 7 years, and still stuck on the fact he was 18 when they got together. Like, come on. He acts like he was baby-trapped. But let's be real, he had choices. He stayed, he married her, and he had another kid. Now he's just resentful because his life doesn't feel so free anymore. And then blasting her online about it. When she finds out, obviously she's furious. I don't even blame her for leaving. It's wild how he frames himself as the victim when he's been living a cushy athlete lifestyle while she raised the kids. Like, if you're that bitter, just own it and walk away instead of making it sound like she ruined your life. And that wraps up today's frustratingly wild Reddit confessions and stories. Some of these were just straight up unhinged, and others had me shaking my head like, why are people like this? Either way, it was a roller coaster. If you've come across any confessions that were so wild they left you frustrated or speechless, let me know in the comments. I'd love to check them out.